My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Senior Manager of Arts and Pedagogy with the Programs Department at the Laundromat Project. Welcome to our 2025 Create Change Fellows Final Presentations. Welcome, and from your home as well. I would like to offer a land acknowledgement as a constant way of being all of our public programs. The Laundromat Project respectfully acknowledges that we are in Brooklyn, the occupied and unceded lands of the Canarsie, who are the part of the Munsee Lenape. We recognize them as the original stewards of this land and pay respects to their elders, past, present, and future. We acknowledge and offer deep gratitude to these Lenape lands and that support us as we are gathered together. I invite you to join me in that acknowledgement, that respect, and that gratitude. I'm going to take a moment of silence. Thank you. If you are with us tonight, you are not familiar with the Laundromat Project. We are an arts organization that advances artists and neighbors as change agents in their own communities. We carry out this mission through our Create Change Artists in Residence and fellowship programs, and our community engagement initiatives and our public programs. Our Create Change program is the LP's flagship annual artist development program that supports the learning of a community of artists who are invested in the developing a critical community-based practice via workshops, coaching, guest speakers, and peer support, among others. This final presentation session is an opportunity for our wonderful cohort of fellows to take you through a miniature version of their group's art activations and share more about the process over the course of the program. Please, let's give them a round of applause to celebrate these dynamic artists. Yeah. Guided by the principles of Black quantum futurism, this year's Create Change Fellows embrace a non-linear, ancestral approach to time, memory, and transformation, reimagining what is possible when artists and communities co-create towards justice. Through months of relationship building and cultural organizing along the side of local partners, fellows address critical issues including displacement, health inequities, environmental and economic justice, as informed by the Bed-Stuy Needs Assessment determined through deep listening, participatory action research, and strategic partnerships. Their culminating public activations took place during Bed-Stuy's historic summer block parties, a legacy of a tradition that transformed everyday public space into portals of resistance, joy, and collective visioning. This cohort's work is a testament to what can emerge when we honor the wisdom of the past, move with purpose in the present, and make space for the liberated futures to unfold. I'll now pass it on to our Executive Director, Aisha Williams, to offer brief remarks and introduce our hosts. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody on live stream and everybody in the room with us this evening. I'm so incredibly honored to be in this space as we share out the work and the experiences of our fellows from 2025. Also very excited that this is grounded in our organization's 20th anniversary. So we're celebrating our 20th anniversary for the next year. This cohort is our 19th cohort of artists. Each one of them will be entering into a deep networking community of over 300 artists who've gone through similar programming, and so I'm very excited to welcome them into this very supportive network and have their experiences inform the work moving forward. And so what makes our fellowship program unique than others is how much it is grounded in community. And in that spirit, before you hear from the artists and their community partners about their activations over the summer, I want to share a poem that's all about community. This poem was written for the Laundromat Project by a former alum, Latasha in Nevada Diggs, on the occasion of the launch of our strategic vision for the next 4 years of the organization and our work. And so the poem is called an egg, 2 cups of milk, and some sugar. It opens with a quote from Zora Neale Hurston. I went about asking in carefully accented Barnardes, so thinking about higher education. The good neighbor trusts the boom tower of analog knows us. It stooges the gift of earned acquaintances not far from the dominoes game, where some may gamble a few dollars under milk crates, a shy away from the gentry's glance. At times we don't notice the murmurations of roots, smooth strolls or red carpet frolics from washer to washer, before your premieres of next door genius who've moved or remained. We are familiar, like a nursery of calendula and tobacco plugs, familiar, like a winter suit or seared socks hopping out of dryers, like a laundry line dangling overhead across roofs. These silk delicates in house dresses, all our descendants from some dozen passages. Kinship, a tight shoestring, a pot sticker, a makeshift flag, the shavings from a shape-up, buzzed and whisked by dusk and brittle. What did you plan to air out while the tennis ball worked a wonder on that comforter? Our people's story is our equity. Unfold dreams to steam out doubts, the sad and near forgotten. Good neighbors tender the roots, make it through wash cycles. Make real like neighbors do to loosen up the soil. Nod like we always nod to confirm our bonds. A church may go down, a barbershop may relocate, a storefront becomes a mosque, an association, an interpreter, a charging station, a notary, a legal aid, the local of familial vendors peddling what's made with morning hands. We measure nothing here. As done of us are interested in speaking Bowensian. It's a language of higher educated, but we measure nothing here. We unload the news on open stoops and corner curbs, then stare like still feather beds uniformly in the familiar of our neighbor. We are not tour guides. This is just how we act in love, for love, and with love. And so that's an offering about being community-centered in community from Latasha Nevada Diggs. And so in that spirit, I'm excited to introduce a pillar of our bedside community and a community leader, Marlon Rice, who will be our host for this evening's conversation and presentations. Marlon Rice is a father of 3 and grandfather of 2, a committed public servant and a lifelong resident of Central Brooklyn. An in-demand public speaker, Marlon is a published author and contributing writer for numerous online publications. His byline has appeared in GQ, Amsterdam News, XXL, and The Source. In addition to his educational and creative endeavors, Marlon is the current director of event services for the Bedford Stuyvesant Restoration Corporation, where he brings his passion for community engagement to life through impactful programming. He is also the founder of Good People NYC, an event production company that thrives at the intersection of culture, community, and connection. Marlon is Bed-Stuy, Marlon is Central Brooklyn, so thank you, Marlon, for hosting this conversation today.
Thank you. Good evening, good evening. Good evening in the front, good evening in the back. Before we get started, I'm going to apologize in advance. I have 2 school-age children, and I'm the victim of back-to-school sniffles. If you have school-age children, you understand what I'm talking about. Many thanks for joining us in celebration of the 2025 Create Change Fellows as they reflect on their projects and takeaways from the program. As Aisha shared, my name is Marlon Rice, and I'm excited to host this program and to guide us through today's artist presentations. It's a gift to participate in this culminating session, and I'm looking forward to all of us learning more about the Fellows Project that were cultivated throughout the spring and summer season. This cohort of artists have practices that encompass public works and projects that are participatory, education-centered, and collective in nature. They were able to illustrate these elements throughout the community activations they designed together. Their projects incorporated critical modes, honoring the legacy of instrumental community members, dreaming about what our futures could entail, and brainstorming with an intergenerational population of Bed-Stuy community members. This program is organized so we can receive reflections on these community engagement actions from the artists, their community partners, and the block associations themselves. The structure for today's presentations will go as follows. We will experience 4 group presentations, each of them about 10 minutes long. We will not have a formal Q&A segment. However, I will engage the artist, their community partner, and a member of the block association whose block party they activated during in a brief conversation about their formal presentations. You guys are ready? At home, are you ready? We need some energy. This is a celebration here, right? I just want to give you some transparent clarity on why I'm so interested in this presentation. So this presentation is called Preserving Black Institutions in Bed-Stuy, Honoring the Legacy of Hattie Carthan. Let me tell you something about Mama Hattie. Hattie Carthan is from the Tidewater area of Virginia, Portsmouth. So is my grandmother. So is my grandmother's friend, Miss Alma Carroll, who passed away some years ago. They all came up from Portsmouth to Brooklyn. Well, Mama Hattie lived in Long Island. She came to Brooklyn after she was divorced, but she moved to Long Island from Portsmouth. So she's a woman who was a part of my childhood, because my grandmother and my grandmother's friend, Miss Alma Carroll. So Miss Alma was on the original board of directors for the Magnolia Tree Earth Center. Right, she lived on Pulaski between Marcy and Nostrand, I believe. So this is special to me, and actually a long time ago, I was the executive director of the Magnolia Tree Earth Center. So full circle. Now on to our second presentation. By artists Nzinga, Numsa, Taiwo, Tayahembe, Adriel Barnett, and Ching-Yi Chang. Their activation with the Magnolia Tree Earth Center resulted in a sustainable fashion show in tribute to Hattie Carthan, a clothing swap and dye-making workshop at the Willoughby, Nostrand, Marcy Block Association's block party. Some quick information about the group. Nzinga is an artist whose work reflects that intentional community is here and a fearless world is now. Adriel is a photo-based artist whose work explores identity, heritage, mythology, and belonging within the Afro-Caribbean diaspora. And Ching-Yi is a dance, dream, conceptual maker, curator, performer, and listener. I like that. When you put that you're a listener, that's intense, right? I like that. Committed to using dance as diplomacy. As I said, I'm excited to learn so much more about this collaborative work. Audience members, please greet our next artist with a round of applause. Nzinga, Adriel, Ching-Yi, floor is yours.
So, we're so excited to be here today. And we were going to invite everyone to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Nice breath in, and a nice breath out.
One more. In. Out with any sound. Meow, cats, dogs, anything. Okay, one. Out.
Awesome. Yeah, so we begin. Preserving Black institutions in Bed-Stuy, honoring the legacy of Hattie Carthan.
We would like to stand. Is that
Is
okay?
it easier?
Is that okay with you?
Of course, please. Okay, awesome. Alright, let's move on. Go to the next slide. So, as Marlon shared, I'm Nzinga, Namsa Taiwo Tayahemba. I use she, her pronouns. I'm so excited to be here. I'm the daughter of midwife Mamanan Kuleko, late midwife Mamanan Kuleko Tayahemba. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here and very grateful to Laundromat Project and the team, the ED, and I'm just excited to be here.
And this is Adriel Barnett, Michelle Barnett. She's not here because she has a lot of commitment and she can be here, but she's a photographer and she really was an important member of our group. I'm Ching Chang. She, they, he, it, all of it. I'm a dance artist and I am so excited to be here with you all to share and to learn.
Ashe. This here, when you save a tree, you save a community. This is a saying that was a very big part of the method, the motto, so to speak, of Hattie Carthen. That's essentially what she did when she chose to save the magnolia trees in front of the brownstones on Lafayette between, is it Marcy and Tompkins, as yes, Marlon alluded to earlier about his own relationship with the Earth Center. So our activation truly honors this legacy, this visionary elder and environmental steward who, in this notion, this idea, this energetic of saving these trees, magnolia trees that are few and far between in here in this area, she really activated community, activated connection, activated conversation. And those are some of the values that we learned about here at LP during our retreat, you know, in our community.
And through a creative photo shoot featuring Brooklyn youth style in elder-inspired fashion, we reflect on and honor the legacy we stand on. This portrait they were hanging on the Black Party on August 16th, along a clothing swap and natural dye workshop, celebrating sustainable practice and Black cultural preservation. And Ms. Carthen's tireless effort, first to save a tree, and then to activate a community to save 3 buildings. Those 3 really beautiful brownstone buildings were saved by her and the community. And then to show us what it means to organize with care and wisdom. Her legacy reminds us that, like Mother Nature, our first ancestor, must be respected in order to sustain the continuity of life. Our work draws from that energy.
That's right. And you know, alongside our theme, which is preserving Black institutions in Bed-Stuy, what the Block Party and Block parties in general really gives us that opportunity, because the Block Party is an institution. It's in and of itself. It's a long-standing tradition, something that, you know, is truly amazing that the LP has supported, has resources diving into in the Bed-Stuy area. So, you know, we really worked alongside the Willoughby Association, and so just, you know, really just getting that opportunity to work alongside as well the Magnolia Tree Earth Center. So we had the beautiful opportunity to meet Crystal Bruchet, who's currently leading and working with the Magnolia Tree Earth Center, which was founded in the 70s by Hattie Carthen. And again, her effort, you know, in the 70s to save this tree. And I just, you know, sometimes, you know, we don't think that Black folks, brown folks were doing environmental activism, you know, back in time, or we weren't vegetarians. I learned that the daughter of a Black journalist, George Schuyler, you know, he was from the 1940s, 1930s. She was a vegetarian, his daughter, back in that time. So we were really activating our sense of ecological care and ecological environmentalism. Chini?
Carthen's vision connected environmental health with racial and economic equality, inspiring generations to engage in green advocacy. Today, the Magnolia Tree Earth Center continues her mission, foster environmental awareness and resilient in one of the New York City's most cultural rich and historical significant neighborhood. Something alongside what you were saying though, I feel like, because my ancestors, they were also enslaved farmers a lot of the times, and I feel like they were so forced into labor work that by the time it gets to our generation, our parents were like, no more working in the farm, no more being with the earth. You are just going to do the completely opposite. So to me, there's like a recognition of that, and then wanting to get back to the land, and then to be closer to the earth.
Ashe. And Kingi, what you're sharing also, it reverberates with what Margot, Kay, and Leslie in the previous conversation with the land back, you know, and but just getting closer to the land, and you know, we can go to the next slide. What she is saying is that when Sister Hattie Carthen, Mama Hattie Carthen, you know, chose to save this tree, there, you know, trees have life in them. You know, there's the bark, there's the insides, there's the leaves, there's the branches, there's this, there's that, there's the roots. So in her activation of that tree, you know, and to the buildings, you know, buildings and holding on to property is such a challenge in our gentrifying society. And so for her to do that is just so inspiring. Reaching out to branches of community, you know, all types of people that, you know, her neighbors, her council people. And so our work really followed that model of organizing that Miss Carthen embodied. We planned in connection with Crystal, with Catherine here at the LP, with Ebony Noel Golden, Fazila Siddiqui, you know, with Angela and Trisha, you know, so in that community, go ahead, Chingy, because we have Miss Coley and everyone.
Yes, yeah, so we spent some time with Miss Coley's group. They were at the Magnolia Tree Earth Center, and she was leading with all the youth, I would say friends. They were so cute. So we spent some time with the youth, and we took I shared some movement exercise with them, and we played games. So and then Adriel had her nieces there at the same time to help out with the setting up with the photo booth and taking care with the youth all together.
Exactly. We also work with a fashion designer, community fashion designer, who's like, you know, kind of like a nomadic person, because she's based here, she's based in the Gambia, based here in uptown Manhattan. But we were able to bring her in, and you'll see some of the photos, I think, in the next slide. Let me think if there's anything, you know, we were able to attend a block association, the coalition of block associations. And so Angela invited us to that meeting, and so that was really supportive to get a sense of the type of organizing, you know, really deep, consistent work that's happening in block associations, and you know, with the, you know, recognizing that it's one of the first ways that as a tenant, as a landlord, as a property owner, as whoever, that we can begin to organize on a local level, and with our neighbors.
And then to me, I'm an introvert, so I do a lot of helping out with the journal, documenting, and then also to ground the work of what we did, and to also like make sure that we know what we did, so we can continue forward. And then we also visit material for the arts to get our material, the head wrap fabric for the day.
Yeah.
These are the photos, so those are the youth. So these are at the Magnolia Tree Earth Center at their brownstone buildings. And these two really lovely, cute friends, they were outside. We were just sitting to waiting for the photo booth to set up. And we started to say hi to strangers, whoever walked by, and just to remind people, like, it's okay to talk to stranger and to know your community members. So we were just saying hi to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is at our block party.
Mm-hmm.
And we were helping out with the natural dye workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Nzinga. She was helping with the clothing swaps.
Mm-hmm. So we just wanted to highlight, these young people. They were some of the most curious and patient and just excited. So they just really had my heart, and everything had our hearts swelling. And that's what Block Party in some ways is about, is to be creative, to eat together. We played Jenga with some of the neighbors, and there was there was corn. Was there ears of corn that day? Was there? I think so, right? Yeah, so really good food. So breaking bread, and so we'll push into our takeaways. So it's so important in community work to have backup plans. To be flexible, because sometimes things, just work out differently. And Crystal Boucher, her dedication to the center is truly inspiring. Building trust and community with Crystal was an amazing opportunity.
The power of intergenerational wisdom, like we all learn from different generations, and they teach us things, and we share things with them. So that was very inspiring. And then to practice the communication skill, because I think as an artist, sometimes we are so in our bubbles working on the arts. So to have this organizing opportunity to meet people, to share our thoughts with each other, how we come together as artists to the community, and so that was very inspiring.
Yeah, it was completely inspiring. I think the other things is, one of the things, another takeaway was how can we also support with in-person. We, of course we have WhatsApp and we have text messages, but, as much as we can, learning, in person. That's, it's great that we're in person tonight. And even though, we do have a virtual audience, so hey, everyone who's out there, and listening in and just staying grounded. So we just wanted to thank the LP again, and Arts and Pedagogy team, and and the Magnolia Tree Earth Center, we cannot forget, and also the Willoughby Block Association. Ashe. Thank you.
You want to join us for this conversation? Come on, I'll help you up, sister. I got you.
I can get up.
And again, I'm gonna keep a seat between us so I don't cough on anybody.
I'm a teacher, I'm used to it.
Yeah, so you know what I'm going through. So I want to start with a story. When Mama Hattie got divorced, she left Long Island. She moved to Vernon between Tompkins and Troop. What she found on Vernon between Tompkins and Troop is that there were no trees on the block, not one. This is late 60s, Bedford-Stuyvesant. At that time, many children were being born in Bedford-Stuyvesant and having asthma. I grew up as a child with asthma, right? So Mama Hattie was responsible for saving that magnolia tree, but she was also responsible for 1,700 trees being planted in Brooklyn.
That's right.
Many of those trees in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Many of those trees are alive today. So she looked at community as a public health issue. She may not have verbalized it, but her actions proved that she saw that community was a public health issue. I want to hear from you guys in terms of your work, working with the organization, working with the block, working with the children, working with the clothing swap. What was your takeaway with regards to the connection between community and public health?
That's such a good question. I think when recently, I think it was on the news. It was saying, you don't worry about public health when you don't hear about things. When you don't hear about like measles or COVID or, so public health is working in those moments.
Right.
And so I think maybe possibly relating to that notion that, community is working, it may not be a correlation, but I think when the health of a community is healthy, then there are a number of indicators that we can look to. And I will just backtrack slightly. My mother was a midwife, and just connecting to community and public health. And one of the things I learned from her was that when you think about the number of children who actually don't make it to their first year, when you think about that number, if that number is really high, then that number, then you have to think about what's happening in that community. And so, so the infant mortality rate. So, be interesting just thinking about like the trees, how many trees are our communities populated with trees? Do we feel the abundance of greenery? And how do we relate that to a sense of health and community and the sense of beauty and
I'm from a tropical island, so trees are very important, and if you don't have trees, then global warming, you will burn.
Right.
Like if there's no tree shades, then you will be, there's just not enough water, oxygen, and all that will cause a lot of illness to the community. And
that block is a very unique and distinct block. I used to say that block is a representation of the striation of class in Bedford-Stuyvesant, because you got millionaires on that block and you have people that live in abject poverty on that block. Right? As a kid, I went to Tompkins Park. I can't tell you how many times I was chased out of Tompkins Park. Right? That block is a microcosm of Brooklyn, of Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Tompkins being Herbert Von King?
I mean Herbert Von King Park. But if you are, like I told you earlier, I'm probably the oldest one here. I'm probably the oldest one here.
No, I'm not. I got you.
We call it Tompkins Park.
It's Tompkins Park.
But it's Tompkins, but it's Von King Park. What I'm interested in hearing from you is the reaction with the children. I heard what you said when you said, well, you guys could talk to strangers, and it even rustled something in me as a father of children, and how protective we are to ensure that they don't talk to strangers, right? And how that could almost be traumatic in its presentation, and how you're coming in peace, you're coming to elevate and inspire, but you got to break through a wall of trust, even with a child. So I want to hear how kind of like that went with you're talking to kids, you're talking to children in the community, you're doing this work. What did you find worked? What did you find that didn't work?
I think one of the things like when Chingy also sharing that, when we're in our neighborhood, in a sense, we're neighbors. And so recognizing, of course, that initial like caution, like, for younger children, really, you don't talk to quote unquote strangers, but kind of thinking of it in a double fashion, which is that these are our neighbors, this person, this quote unquote millionaire, folks on the street, everyone, we are, that's the definition of neighbors, that rather, being in sort of close proximity to folks that we live and work with. One of the things I remember, we opened up with the circle with the young people, and we may have even done a breathing exercise with them, and did a check-in, and we did games. So really opened up on their level. That was one of our first opportunities to kind of be in person with them, and so checking in. Adriel was amazing with the young people, and I really just want to also recognize our fellow partner who is in our trio. Just the work that she put in, and I think all together, we really sort of like we reflected a sense of what it means to kind of step into a new space and to new people.
Yeah, I think one of the questions we asked the youth also, like, can you share a person who's elder in your community, and can you talk about her? And then they all offer like many different, maybe grandmother, ancestors in their family, and they talk about how they are. So I think to begin with like ancestral memory, and then to carry that memory and onto the street. We were sitting on the street waiting patiently, but then to also like, I feel like I grew up in a place where people actually see each other in the eyes, and we say hi even if you're strangers. So to me, the children were so open, and they were like, yes, we will say hi to whoever passed by, and if they don't say hi, we just say louder until they say hi back to us. So that, to me, I feel very successful the way we set it up, for them to be comfortable, to be open to like, oh, this is actually, we are here because of the community that's around us.
No, and that's fair. Like, I received that, and that's the truth, because even as a child, I can remember going down to Portsmouth, and everybody would say hi to you. And I remember feeling like, wow, like people talk to you, right? Because you're so traumatized into thinking you gotta wear a shell. And so the goal when you deal with children on an education level, and you know this as being a teacher, is that you gotta break through that shell, because every child has a shell. Some of it is thinner than others are thicker than others, right? But that's the work, and the breathing exercises, and the circle. These are the things that our children need and want, even if they don't ask for it. I want to talk to you real quick. How many years you been on the block? Talk to me.
70.
Woo! Now, since you're only 45, I don't know what that means. I can't call that.
I have always lived on the block. 70 years.
70 years.
70 years.
So I want to know two things. I want to know, what is it that inspires you about what you see in terms of the block, in terms of Magnolia, in terms of On King Park, over the last, say, 10 years? Like, what is it that has been inspiring to you seeing these changes?
So living on a block that has just been landlocked because of the destruction of the Dangler Mansion on the corner of Willoughby and Nostrand. And one of my first conversations with the Laundromat Project was, can we do something for the young people that helps them understand what was there? Because some of them don't know it even existed.
Right.
So when you think about young people growing up in a community that's beginning not to look like them, they see a change in the neighborhood and they don't understand what's really happening. So we wanted the project to be something that linked them to the past. And I didn't think about Hattie Coffin, but when you ride down Vernon Avenue, if you start at Broadway, you will know when you get to her block. It doesn't matter what time of day or night it is, you will know when you reach her block. There is a difference on that portion of Vernon Avenue than any other portion. The trees are vast. It's just beautiful, and so that brings to my mind that we want to teach children what beauty is. So even as now I'm an elder, and when I'm outside and children come by to jump on trees and tear down branches, I'm now the old lady who says, you know, sweetheart, you don't have to tear down that tree. It is not bothering you. Look at it, touch it, say that it's nice, and smile at it. But I have seen a change, and I think the change, you can't stop change.
No.
That you can't do. But what I think we can help our children do is adjust to the change. Adjust to the changes in the neighborhood and the activities, the activation that Laundromat Project brings to the block, or those that help children understand, well, why is there a box here for clothing? Why is my mommy asking me to go in my room and bring out clothes that I can no longer wear? And I jumped up and said, I am a recycler. I will go get some items for this box, because it is so important to continue to keep that sense of community and that we do for others. Someone did for us. Hattie was my first boss. Okay, I was a youth worker when Magnolia Tree.
Right.
You won't know how long ago that was, but she's my first employer.
Right.
So I saw the transition.
Tree Corps.
I saw the tree corps. I worked with the lawyers there when they were beginning, and she started that first process. So this is part of community, but we're not telling that to our children.
Correct.
They're not part of that conversation around, there was something here in this corner. And so the first project talked about, what would you do if you had $100 billion? I want our children to figure out, what do you want on that empty space on the corner? What is it that you would want to see there? If you, and of course they don't understand what $100 billion is, but if you had the money, if you had your druthers, what would you as a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 13-year-old want to see in that space? So the transition of Tompkins Park to Von King Park, beautiful transition, except they took the library out of the middle of the park, which I thought was in a wonderful spot. But it's a good thing, and we can't stop change, but we need to involve our youth in it, because legacy is important. Keeping property is important. Having, I wouldn't have a house if I didn't have a grandparent. Okay? I'm living in the house that I grew up in. And it's important for our children to understand what that means. And I think the activations help to solidify that.
Awesome. I know we ain't got but a couple minutes. I want to get quickly on the clothes swap and sustainability, right? Because, again, this is not a new concept. Right? Anybody who's grown up with multiple children in their family has worn something that was hand-me-downs. They used to call that hand-me-downs, right? But in this era of sustainability, it creates an opportunity to be inspired by not wasting, right? And by using a clothes swap as a mechanism to not waste things, right? Did your work speak in that to people? Like, did people get what a clothes swap is and why it's awesome?
I think so. I remember as we were leaving, so people were sort of like still following us and saying, hey, we have something that we want to give. Remember, there were a few people.
Some of my neighbors went and just got bags and just, because we waste. Waste.
Absolutely.
We waste.
And people are really looking for opportunities to recycle, and so I think definitely that was a important aspect of the activation. And I do want to say that I think there's so much, and I think what you were sharing, Sister Joanne, about legacy and about, the line that in some ways goes from Mama Hattie Carthen, that is still a strong line, and that even as the world changes, and even as community changes, that there is this strong line that that is reflected in you, Marlon, just telling your story. And so, I don't think, and I just, I'm just feel encouraged that we are now able to be narrators and to be griots, or I always get that word mixed up. But to tell the story of Hattie Carthen, to tell the story of the Earth Center, to reflect. So that sense of change is happening in also a really good way too.
Absolutely. Any last words?
Create change takes time, and we shouldn't rush it. We should take time. Like, because we look at the fashion in the 30s to 60s, everything takes time to make. And to our time, we just abuse labor and then make fast fashion. But can we always slow that down and then just use what we have and create change through that slowness and like simmer things.
Amazing. Round of applause, please. Listen, I can sit here and talk about Mama Hattie for a long time. We got to move on, though. Again, thank you, group 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How y'all feeling? You all right? Let me do a temperature check. Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Good. Do you need to get some wine? Do you need to get some soda? I gave a secret. I'm gonna let you get settled. We'll take about a minute to get settled. Shout to Rasul. This man is a curator of culture and experience and creative experience in Brooklyn. I'm glad to see him here. So we're gonna go to the third presentation. You ready for it? You're on deck. They ready? Okay. So our third artist presentation is around an activation titled One Brooklyn Health, Bridging Past and Future through a recovery of the legacy of Lola Cuffey Nishaw. These fellows and community partners were able to ground the work of medical institutions in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Through a blood pressure station, medical wheel activity, and brainstorming corkboard, this activation allowed neighbors to consider what preparations are needed for their medical well-being. The artists who designed this activation are Chioya Webb Jr. and Jason Wang. And they were in partnership with One Brooklyn Health and activated during the MSBA, which is the Monroe Street Block Association, 400 Monroe Street's block party. Brief bios. Chioya is an audio and visual artist whose production enables community jubilation, particularly for Black and gender-expansive siblings. Jason is a playwright from Queens who recently brought their play Sty or Die to theater locations in the Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. Group 3, you ready? Yeah. Give it up for Chioya Webb, Jason Wang.
Yes. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
This is definitely giving conversation, you know. Oh, wait, let me hand these out.
Oh, yeah. What are these, Trey?
These are zines, which we'll talk about in a second. And it's from you. Pass them around. That's.
What's up, y'all? Good evening. I want to preface, I don't think the other groups have talked about this as much, but we went on, in the beginning of our fellowship, we went on a wonderful retreat in the Catskills for 3 days and just downloaded a bunch of information from the organizers, not to date you, but who came before us. And I think one real takeaway I had from that at the beginning of this fellowship process is I don't trust artists. There's a lot of artists out there that are like, oh, I'm so tortured, I'm so alone, no one's gonna understand me. And I think coming out of that retreat, I really felt that there is a history of change making at the Laundromat Project that we can rely on and learn from. And artists are not as alone as they think. So that beginning really colored our entire fellowship process to just be in community as long as it takes, as much as it takes, until the answers that we're seeking appear before us.
Yes.
So this is us.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go.
Okay. I mean, thank you so much for introducing us. Very much appreciated. The only thing I'll add is I use they, them pronouns. My name is pronounced Choya, Bak Choya. Choya.
Okay.
I'm a junior. My daddy's name is Choya as well. I'm a musician. I like creating art, obviously. I like archival work. And I love to laugh, as y'all can see. So that's what I get into, and that's my practice.
I'm Jason. I'm from Queens. I'm from around the Flushing Meadows area. I grew up as a total latchkey kid. And what I would do, I'm a playwright now, is what I would do, I would just, for hours on end, I just make like the same 6 Lego people I had just talk to each other. And it's how my playwriting, how that appears in my playwriting practice now is oftentimes life is just like that. You're having conversations, things are happening around you, you're passing the time, and maybe the mundane has everything.
Love it.
So we partnered with One Brooklyn Health.
We partnered with One Brooklyn Health. Shout out to Dr. Torian. Where you at, Dr. Torian?
Taking a call.
Dr. Torian is a doctor who also is very much leading community and population health in his community, which is inclusive of Bed-Stuy, inclusive of Crown Heights and Prospect Heights. One Brooklyn Health namely serves Central Brooklyn, and they are also a part of a wider health system, most popularly interfaith, which is I think the largest, Brookdale, and then the Jewish Medical Center, I think getting that name right. And they're a safety net hospital, so they are often the first kind of care. They're often taking care of folks who cannot afford medical care. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if they're entirely profit from the medical system in ways that a lot of other hospitals do. So shout out to One Brooklyn Health for taking care of our communities, and we were lucky enough to partner with them. And a huge piece of wanting to partner with us was to create awareness of the resources that Brooklyn has, particularly around public health, and also understanding that there is a system out there that is very much interested in making sure that they're taken care of, that their families can go to them, and that they're a very wide system with lots of different types of resources. So OBH, baby. And I believe OBH formed in 2016 as a larger effort to collapse a lot of the just constrained health systems overall and trying to collapse them all into one in the hopes of supporting one another.
Yeah, so right after, at the tail end of our retreat, we had our first meeting with Dr. T, and within that meeting, we started talking about, well, first of all, issues. We arrived at one big issue, which is trust in the medical complex. It's been damaged in the past, it's at varying different levels, and there are a bunch of things like capacity, inconsistent budgets with like changing city administrations that has damaged the trust in our community when we think about the medical complex. So we started there, we like spitballed between the three of us like a bunch of different issues we have about the medical complex. Then we, at the end of the spitball, we all looked at each other and we were like, this is more than we can solve in like a 6-month period, but let's really dive in and figure out what the community wants. Following from there, we met with the team and board of OBH, and we also talked about opportunities. So within these issues, what existing opportunities in the now can enable whatever we want to make. We hadn't decided by March 2025. We talked about the United Healthcare CEO killing as actually a huge conversation starter all across the world to reimagine what healthcare can be. We also talked about this rare opportunity to document the past as we hear from youth voices on what that future of healthcare can be. So following our first initial meetings, we started to hear more and more about Miss Lola Shaw-Cuffey.
Miss Lola Shaw-Cuffey, who is hard to describe. If you take a look at the zine, I know not everyone has one, but essentially she was a hero. She was born in 1906, I believe, December 9th, and she has been working tirelessly for Bed-Stuy, but also the Carolinas and also Nigeria at one point. She wasn't necessarily a doctor, but she was a healthcare worker. She was starting clinics, she was shaking hands with politicians, she was advocating for maternal health, care for Black women in Bed-Stuy in the 1930s and 40s and 50s. So, you know, something much more common now, but not nearly as common back then, and she made it a primary issue. And something that we got from our conversations with One Brooklyn Health initially was, who are your heroes? Who are your legacies? And how do we bring that up to the surface to create a better picture of the legacy that One Brooklyn Health has, but also Bed-Stuy in general. There are healthcare workers, there are nurses, there are community care workers who really want to make sure that you're going to be okay. So how do we bring that legacy back up? And that was a major part what we decided to do in general. And another part of what we wanted to do was bring youth into the conversation, which was mentioned earlier in these presentations, which I think an important part of our initial conversations with Brooklyn Health, that's a timer trial for 6 minutes. An initial conversation that we had with Brooklyn Health was, where are the youth? Are you talking to young people? And there was a legacy actually that One Brooklyn Health already had with doing that. They had actually a cohort of young folks who they talked to sort of build like a town hall conversation. So we were like, okay, go, let's go back and figure out how we can reintegrate their voices into the Block Party, but also our vision. And that was one aspect of the activation that we did as well. I think another major part, that's bullet number 3 here, is assessing our own strengths and boundaries. As Jason mentioned earlier, we had several conversations. I think at least maybe 6 to 7 conversations with 6 to 7 different groups of people. And they all were in different iterations and they all had different needs. But we wanted to make sure that young folks actually felt seen in the activation that we had, because as it was also mentioned earlier in another presentation, we knew that they are the future, right? They are going to steward the hopefully reimagining of all this really horrible stuff going on, and hopefully are going to be able, with our help, to fix it and to really mitigate all that has happened. So we wanted to bring them into the conversation as much as we can. And a part of that also is recognizing we are only 2 people. We did not have a 3rd or 4th partner in the work, and so Jason and I wanted to make sure that we were really working within our own strengths. As archivists, as playwrights, as folks who love to teach, Jason's an excellent teacher, and also people who love young people and want to see all of that to make sure it's incorporated in the work that we did. And then deciding on transformation. This relates to Ebony and what Ebony taught us in this process. Ebony is a facilitator that the LP worked with. They were a part of our retreat in the Catskills that we did, and they had this concept. I don't know if it was her concept, but the continuum of impact. And we wanted to think about, okay, where do we fit in that continuum of impact? One of 3 places, attitudes, which is shifting how people perceive a certain issue, a certain dialogue. Another was capacity, like action, what folks feel like they are able to do, what resources that they have. And then action, which is actually taking advantage of the resources that we provided them. So we wanted to try to hit those 3 points, but also within our own capacity. And do you want to talk about the facilitate imagination part? Because I feel like that was a huge part of the wheel that you did.
Yeah, so I figured I should just go to the, what was our block party?
Yes.
So we had a block party in 4 different parts. We have a collaborative art wall. So this was a chance, and it was mostly young people, as young as like 4 and 3. And when they could not write, they drew. A lot of misspelled words on that artboard. Much. So this collaborative art wall you see here, we asked members of the block to answer one of 2 prompts. The first one is the question that OBH propagates to all their patients, or seeks for them to answer, is during a medical emergency, what kind of resource, or like, who can you go to? If it's not a person, is it a resource? If it's not a hospital, is it someone else that you trust? So there were a lot of my wife answers in there. And we also asked, what is your vision for the future of healthcare? So those all live on that board. We also had a question wheel to facilitate conversation about the future of health. We also distributed the zine on site, and also from OBH's end, they brought Tyler and Eduardo, member of the Young Doctors Project, to set up a blood pressure clinic. I got my blood pressure on finally green after many years.
Me too.
There you are.
I'm good.
So actually following what Ebony said to us, we knew we really wanted to leave something physical, a physical, tangible thing that's going to exist after us. Possibly a template for art to continue restoring trust in the medical community. So that ended up being our art board, is hopefully going to live in OBH. Sorry, it's nodding. I'm so glad it's happening. And also zines are going to live on to document the past. Which brings us to here.
Yes, we only have a minute. I obviously could talk about Lola Shot Coffee forever. I talked to, I think, at least 8 family members. Shout out to Dr. T for putting up with them. I appreciate it. If you have been holding this for a while, maybe pass it on to a neighbor so they can also look at it. But I'll just share really quickly that all these images are from her family that they've kept for literally 50 years. They gave me a quick description of how her attitude was, and all of them talked about her cooking. They asked me to put biscuits in the zine. The biscuits are there very subtly. Hey, child. Literally, all of them talked about the biscuits without talking to each other. So that gagged me. And there are also just letters from our government officials thanking her for her work. I think an important thing that we forgot to mention is that there is a clinic named after her within OBH, and Dr. T thought it would be a really good idea to remind people why that is and why her legacy exists. And I got to pass around these little things over to family and community, and it was really, really great. I think that is also a part of the physical piece that we wanted to leave. And if you ever want to look at it, you can come back to LP. They have it in their library. So yeah, let's keep going because I know we have 30
well, I
seconds.
think we're at time, but definitely all of this is going to come up in the conversation. Thank you all so much.
Give Duke a round of applause, please. I got a lot of questions, but I'm not gonna lie. The two of you are vibes. I just kind of want to sit here and like deal with it for a minute.
Yeah.
Amazing work. In fact, yeah, Dr. Torian, you can sit there, brother. Give a round of applause for Dr. Torian Eastman. He's also a vibe. It's my brother right here.
Definitely.
Okay, great work, great presentation. Honoring Lola Cuffey is a big deal. Her name holds weight in this community. I want to start with kind of the same thread with I asked with the other two groups, and that's the concept of trust. You're on the block party, you have the wheel, you have the zine, you have the blood pressure. Tell me what worked and what didn't work on the block.
Oh my goodness.
I think, go ahead, go you. I think that one core principle we tried to keep in this collaboration, we mentioned a little in the beginning, is be in community and the answers are going to illuminate before you. And I think the strength is we were there. And I will say I think we ran, the amount of people who came in for blood pressure wasn't a lot. But I do think that the fact we are there, banners on the ground, letting people know that OBH has been here through the history of Ms. Lola Cuffey. We are here and we will be here. That's the work. That's the work of restoring trust, knowing if you're ready to come and have a conversation about maybe how trust has been damaged, we're here. Things that didn't work.
Yes.
I was very surprised, and we kind of prepared for the amount of young people, but not this much. There were a lot of young people, and we wish we had maybe a lot of young people between the ages of 4, 5, and 6 who maybe the questions we were asking, we had to go a little bit simpler with and how to engage with that artboard, and maybe the materials they're working with too. Maybe instead of writing something, is it molding like clay? Something more accessible, something more fun.
Right. I would something, and this is where I started to get tripped up, is another thing we observed is on that block there actually is a social split of long-term bedside residents and recent residents. Most of the block party is, most of the block association running the block party is recent residents, whereas long-term residents don't feel welcomed into that space. So we were flyering on that block and they were like, oh, are we in trouble? And they were concerned that we were reporting them or we're going to just share we're trying to do our own thing over here. And that was really jarring. I feel like I'm from Saginaw, Michigan, which is maybe an hour away from Detroit. And in the hood, we all fam. We're not split up. We're not not talking to each other. Even if folks are deemed unsafe, maybe even, which I'm not saying folks need to be around people who are not safe to them. What I am saying is that police are not engaged with, or penal punishment is not a concept that I was used to, and it felt like that was something we were navigating. We were navigating a neighborhood that had tension on how it's supposed to show up for each other, and then we were just artists, not from that neighborhood, being we just want everyone to get along, and it kind of worked,
Right. And what's that between Tompkins and True? or between Tommy's and True.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just like as the first group, you drop down into a block that is already kind of in the midst of a turmoil, subtle, not so subtle, conscious, subconscious, right? And here you are, just simply trying to, you brother, in terms of what you feel like the impact of their installation was on the block. Did you go? Were you there?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
My picture wasn't there.
It was there. It was good. I from back there. I ain't got my glasses.
Well, first, let me just deep appreciation to the Laundromat Project for selecting One Brooklyn Health to be part of the Create Change program, and to be part of the fire group. Troy and Jason are absolute fire. They were on it, and it was an amazing partnership for us to be able to move forward and advance from our deliverables. And really, we needed to ground this in trust. If folks who are, have history in this community, they know the narrative about the institutions that are under the system, right? You know what our community says about Brookdale. Folks who come in, they do not walk out, right? You folks know what they say about Interfaith. They know what they say about Kingsbrook Jewish. And so what was really important for us, as she was talking about trust, was really making sure that, that this storytelling project was allowing us to, bridging past and bringing into the future, was to uplift stories that fought for our community, right? Our ancestors built codes into the language so that we can tap back into it. And Lola Cuffey left nuggets for us, right, so that we can bring it into today's time. Right. And we're still fighting the battle that Lola Cuffey was fighting, right? And so one, we wanted to be able to uplift this name that folks, that there was recognition. And so literally, so we're on Monroe, and actually I was wrong. It's
Troop and Garvey.
Yeah, Troop and Garvey.
Yeah, once I saw it, it was 44.
But the Lola Cuffey Center actually was 485 Troop. That's where
Department of Health and Mental Hygiene.
Department of Health and Mental Hygiene.
Right.
That's where Interfaith held the clinic.
Right.
And so it is not by accident that we were only just around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Right around the corner. So it's not by accident. And so, having the conversation about Lola, but then also about this institution that is failing our community. And so there had to be an acknowledgement, but also some reciprocity. Right. So here we are showing up, blood pressure, being able to say, hey, these are the services that we have in your community. But also, and I remember, having a conversation with the brothers that was there, and we're like, well, what are y'all doing for the community? Like, folks are not doing well, right? And so how are y'all showing up? This is not just about how many doctors you have, but coming to events, doing blood pressure, doing health education, right? Like, there has to be more reciprocity that we can do for our community as an institution. Right. And so there has to be some reckoning that the institution then understands, all right, what's next, particularly in this moment. And so it was a huge step forward, but there's a lot more work that we need to do. That's what I'll say.
And you and I've had conversations at length about the social determinants of health, and how these play into an environment that is healthy or not healthy, right? And it's far more than any one thing, but it's a coupling, a holistic view of our physical, mental, emotional, and social health. I want to know from you, you two, about Lola Cuffey, right? Because just like Mama Hattie Carthan, Lola Cuffey is a name that rests in Bedford-Stuyvesant lore, but is the name of someone who had impact, influence, and changed the direction of this community through her work. I want to hear from you what it felt like to research her. Did you know about her prior to this? And if not, some of the things that you learned that you'll take with you after this?
Oh my God, excellent questions. Where do I start? I cried, y'all. Y'all know I did. I feel like one thing I should say too. She actually was born in 1902, not 1906. Right. It was an honor because talking to her family, who had such reverence for her, and also very different experiences because I talked to so many different generations. It was really magical, kind of to bridge that gap. I think also a part of it too is calling them and making having those conversations with them also drove them to actually reconnect with each other. Like, I need to call my granddad, da 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 da. And I'm like, I felt very related to that. So I felt like that was a major highlight for me in doing that work as well. I feel like things I'm taking away is I need to be a better cook, y'all. When I tell you, like, that's what people talked about at least the first 10 minutes of my conversations. But on a more serious note, just keep going. I know, as simple as that sounds, I don't even know the type of environments she was dealing with, the type of doubt that people were casting on her and her skill set, especially because she didn't receive a college education until later, but she was already organizing in Nigeria and in North Carolina before she did any of that. And I feel like it's easy to be discouraged by life circumstances and also the systems that we're working within. And I'm going to take away, like, you just gotta keep doing it.
Well, I can tell that she inspired you.
She really
like,
did.
I can see it, I can feel it when you talk about it.
Someone called her scary, and I'm like, I cannot wait to be scary. Like, I can't wait. Like, it's going to be amazing. And I'm like, okay, scary, but like, look, this woman was surrounded by people all the time. And people were going in and out of her apartment all the time. There are about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 7 names here. They gave me 15 to 16 names to talk to.
Wow.
Not everyone got back to me, but there was just a plethora of people who could speak to her experience.
Wow.
And I'm like, I hope I could do that, you know? And also these photos just are beautiful, and I'm really thankful that she was really into, and whoever else was in her family who was really into documenting her work, because I'm glad it's not gonna get lost. Another thing that actually I really liked about her is at one point she stopped calling herself Lola Cuffy. She started calling herself a Shaw, and like really owning her name and her own impact outside of her amazing entrepreneurial husband, I'm sure. And I want to know that. I want to know when she decided to do that, when she started telling, I think it was Glenn, and I think it was Lisa, like, we're Shaws, like, don't forget you're a Shaw, no matter what. I'm like, yo, that's so dope, because you got married when you were, I believe, like 21, so 19, 20 blank. And I thought you like progressed yourself enough to be like, hey, I'm a Shaw at the end of the day. I'm a Cuffy, but I'm a Shaw. Right. And I think that's really dope too.
Right. You wanted to
Yeah,
ask?
quick story. Just because my introduction to Ms. Cuffy was in 2015 when I first came to Brooklyn. Started working for the health department. In that building, 485 Troop, there is a plaque with Lola Cuffy's name, but there is actually no other recognition. There's no picture. There's nothing else. And obviously, the city or the hospital recognized her for the services that she has done to Central Brooklyn. And so every time that Honorable Robinson would come and visit, we would have a meeting, we would do some debriefing, any health issues that she was doing. This is when she was an assembly member. She would always stop, bring everyone down, and talk about local Cuffy. And so that was my introduction. Annette.
Right.
Honorable Annette Robinson. And so that was the first person we called. We got on the call with Honorable Robinson. She said, no, you need to talk to Judge Shears. So we got on the call with Judge Shears. Robin Shears. Right. And then we got Honorable former Assembly Member Roger Green.
Right.
We got everybody.
Yeah, you talked to the whole
We got
group.
everybody on the call. And so Troy and Jason, they spoke with Honorable Robinson, Green, and so it was a process. And so when we finally got into the family, I mean, then they just opened the floodgates open. They were just sending us documents and pictures and all these other things. But it just really talked about how families really need to document, right? It's so important. I mean, particularly for a family member like Lola who has this deep legacy, to be able to have all these documents and photos. They sent us the city the letter from the mayor at the time. I forget who it was. That's not as important, but it's just being able. It was just great to see a lot of that documentation.
It was absolutely nothing. Could be almost close to nothing. Could be found through Google. It was mostly all generosity calls.
So I do some of this work that you guys did in your activation. When I have block parties, I call on OBH, I call on Bed-Stuy Family Health, and we do blood pressure and glucose level checks. And so you come to the block party, it's a summer day, many people are drinking nutcrackers or whatever they're having to enjoy themselves. And what I always find, real talk, and what I always find is that when we do this work, there's always 1 or 2 people that their blood pressure is elevated. We had a guy at the Hip Hop Closet block party this year at Brooklyn Navy Yard. His glucose level was 385.
Jesus.
It's a summer day. It's July 12, 2025. It's 90 degrees. You're drinking whatever you're drinking, and you're at 385, which could put you in diabetic shock. Did this work, the actual work of the blood pressure check, I know you said not a lot of people, but did it yield itself to conversation, right? When somebody takes their blood pressure, did they ask, well, is it high? Is it low? What does that mean? Like, what was that sort of interaction with people that were tested?
Yeah, good. Real quick, I just want to shout out Eduardo and Tyler,
Yeah.
who literally had those
They're
conversations.
the ones
These two young men
Right.
probably are the ones who actually
They're the
know
ones
them.
that, right, okay.
I'm pretty sure, but Dr. T, I'm sure you can speak to it a little bit too.
Yeah.
I just want to name that. Jason, were you going to say something?
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. T, do you want to talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit?
Yeah. So Eddie and Tyler are high school students. Eddie is a junior at Boys and Girls High School. Tyler is a junior at Benjamin Banneker. They just enrolled into the Young Doctors Project.
Oh, this is part of your young doctor?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the Young Doctors Project, we engage young men of color who are in high school, teaching them, exposing them to healthcare professions. And so they came out, they learned how to take blood pressure. They're educating folks about the need to be taking blood pressure. And then also the signs, right, and symptoms that folks may be experiencing, if it's on a hot day, or what you may be experiencing if you have elevated blood pressure. And so it was a conversation starter, more so about the goals, right? And what are they interested in, and where would they want to go in the profession? And so there were a lot of folks who were asking them about what their interests were in the health profession. Not many people no one had elevated blood pressure that day, which is great. Yeah, no, that's a good thing. That's great. But nobody needed additional attention. So, but it was just really good practice for them. Really, just to show up in the community and to give back. They spent the summer at Howard doing a lot of training, life skill training, and things of that nature. So now they got to bring it back to their community.
Awesome. Last thing, 10 seconds, 15 seconds tops. Tell me what about this work you will take into your personal art and creative trajectory.
I'm looking to do a lot of documentary theater work in the future, which is making these calls, going out to people, and also much credit to the young doctors, asking how are you, and especially in the concept of your health. How are you? What do you do?
Right.
Before I give a judgment or a verdict to you, I want to try to understand where you're coming from. That's where I'll be.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's like you're never the first to do it. You rarely are ever the first to do it. Maybe in your own universe, there's something really special about how you are making impact, for sure, but you probably are building on someone else's legacy, hopefully.
Facts. Give it up for Group 3 Vibes. That's it. Give it up for Dr. East as well. My hero. All right. How we doing? Good? Has it been informative? Are you receiving something from this? Good. All right. Now, on to our final presentation by artists Nick Black, Anurima Kumar, and Malik Ray. Their community activation is called Rooted Together, Molding Our Collective Future and Celebrating Bed-Stuy. For their activation, they use sculpting, seeds, and zines to dream and ideate around desired futures in partnership with Grow House NYC, and activated during the Quincy between Nostrand and Marcy Block Association's block party. Nick is a Black queer creative that is dedicated to creating safe, inclusive spaces in Brooklyn's LGBTQ+ community. Anurima is an interdisciplinary artist whose practice is centered on participation and community engagement, rooted in her work as a community organizer and public health worker. And Malik is a genderqueer multidisciplinary artist whose talents emerge as a rapper, writer, actor, and producer. I'm excited to learn more about this collaborative work. Audience members, please give them the same energy we've been giving other groups. Group 4, Nick, Anurima, and Malik, take it away.
Hello, everyone. So our project and collaboration was rooted together Molding Our Collective Future and Celebrating Bed-Stuy. And this is just a photo from our activation, which was second activation photo.
On the next slide, we've already been introduced, but once again, I'm Malik.
I'm Anurima.
And Nick is not here with us today physically, but you'll feel their presence all over everything that we talk about as we are blessed to be able to share space within the community with them. So when we start to get into it, rooted together, molding our collective future, and celebrating Bed-Stuy was the name of our activation that we were blessed to do with our community partner, Grow House NYC. The activation invites Bed-Stuy residents into a joyful, intentional space to celebrate community memory, collective ownership, and uplift the mission of Grow House Design Development Group and the Black Land Trust.
So through this event, we really wanted to center voices from across the neighborhood, and that was ultimately the goal. And as we get into it more, we'll speak to how our curriculum and our ideas evolved in partnership, honestly, and changed with our community partner.
So we keep talking about our community partner. On the next slide, you'll get to see amazing Shauna and Warren. They are the founders of Grow House Design and Development Group, founded by the mother and son duo back in 2017.
Yeah, and so when we started this partnership, we actually were partnered with the Black Land Access Trust, and we had a little bit of an issue communicating at first because there was a loss and we were being respectful to that. So we did have a little bit of a delayed start. And once we had this communication, we learned more about what Grow House actually was, which is an incubator of Black Land Access Trust, and really has evolved from starting in a room with youth of the community and incubating ideas and encouraging these ideas, and ultimately asking these big questions of like, what does land ownership mean? And as land ownership gets taken away through gentrification, anti-immigration, how can we as a community, especially in Bed-Stuy, which is where they're from as well, or operate in right now, how can they do that? And a lot of their work is like memorializing these Flatbush burial grounds, African burial grounds, and making sure there's a place to bury, and as well as buying back mansions and other houses that could be on the market to keep it within the community and ensuring that it's coming from people from the community and elders in the community.
So as you can see, Shauna and Warren are really expansive. On this side, you can't fully see out that down some, but on their logo, you see that they work at the intersections of travel, education, art, technology, activism, and entrepreneurship. And they had a big shift after the pandemic, where they started to shift from just art making to actually owning real estate, and started to think about what does it mean in order to be able to have these centralized places, and started to develop their relationship to land a little bit different, as they are expansive, take up a lot of space, and we love it.
So there were a lot of methods, I will say, to planning this block party. We definitely came into it with the strengths of the three of us, and we're like, okay, you know, Nick is a community organizer and a planner, Malik is a rapper, I'm a visual artist, I can DJ during the thing. We had so many ideas.
A lot of ideas.
And we had planned this entire, like, almost like a conference type event for this block party, where there was a teach-in. We wanted to interview members of the community in like a housing justice panel. But as we began this journey in partnership, it evolved a lot, and we were really deep listeners, I feel like.
And I think that one of the things that made our evolution a little bit different maybe than some of the other community partners is that Shauna and Warren, when we were first introduced to them, we were introduced to their work as a part of the Flatbush African burial grounds. So we were like, okay, we're working in Bed-Stuy, but we're doing this research about the African burial grounds in Flatbush in order to get to know you. Who are we listening to? Right? We started to just have to think about a little bit more to get specific around community, because we were really encouraged to know, to dive deep into researching all of the different pillars that exist within the community. So that deep listening, one, had to start with ourselves and acknowledging we might not know, and that is okay. But then we are able to begin the journey with Shauna and with Warren of figuring it out, because it also is not guaranteed that they will know. Nobody has to know, but as long as we are curious and we got each other, we can figure it out.
Yeah, and I think especially in our first physical meeting together, we had like email communication and a call But a lot of questions were coming up where I didn't even know the answer to. Like, I'm not Black, and a lot of what we were talking about is Black liberation. I'm not from Bed-Stuy, but Nick and
I'm not
Lee.
from Bed-Stuy, I'm from Detroit.
But not like a resident of Bed-Stuy, I guess. Like,
yeah.
And I think these questions came up, and because of those questions, I don't know if we had the answers to them by the end of this process, but we were thinking about what it means to have intentional collaboration and like what is the actual purpose of the organization and Grow House.
Yeah. Our next thing was really playing to our strengths. We speak about a lot of what we don't know, but what we do know, we know. So we wanted to make sure that we weren't just coming in like, hey, what's this? How do we do this? We really are really rooted in our skills as artists. And we didn't want to lose our skills as artists in the process of making sure that we also obtain the administrative duties that are needed in order to be able to create community and build these bridges. So we really focused on how do we keep an artistic practice with one another and not just get lost in all the emails that are being sent and all of this communication that sometimes can almost distance, especially when we're looking to be with closed distance.
Yeah, being in the room, it was a really fun opportunity to meet Shauna's interns. So she had 12 interns part of the group. We hung out with them, we went to a workshop with them, we were able to show up and be on the block. And with that, I also added being flexible as the process changed a lot in the last like 6 months. And this kind of conference idea became very diluted into what can we fit in this time and what are your actual priorities. And out of that came like these zines, which I'll pass around, which was us using our strength to create something with the visual identity that they can use moving forward. And then as we'll go into the next slide, what actually happened.
I will challenge one thing. I'm gonna give an invitation. I feel like diluted or concentrated.
Concentrated.
Okay,
You're
thank you.
right. Thank you. But as you can see, the block party was really full of life. There was a marching band that came down the street, and Grow House had partnered with Street Labs with the summer interns. So we were able to use the setups that they had to add these other kinds of activations, which ask questions like, what does community mean to you? What does it mean to have this block?
As we spoke about, we were talking about having these huge speakers and playing music and stuff, and we had a very beautiful surprise of having a marching band come up on the block, and we were like, you know what, maybe it's best that we, let the block take control of the music and DJ.
Yeah, and Nick led a play station, and a lot of young people were at our activation.
Shout out to Ms. Beth.
Yeah, and also had some bloom balls, which had this idea of like what plants are indigenous to Bed-Stuy and how can we grow them ourselves. Okay.
What are your project highlights and takeaways?
Well, first is being comfortable with the unpredictable. I feel like before the block party, we had a meeting with the Block Association, and no one knew like how many people were going to show up. It was actually quite unclear like what other events were going to be happening at the same time. So preparing to not know who was going to show up. The only thing we really did know is when we flyered, we walked down the street and talked to the residents, and they were all really excited to come. But it was a mix of people. It seems like we just understood the politics of the street a little bit more, which I think helped us when we got there.
Yeah, especially since we were working with Grow House, and a lot of their work is extremely site specific. So we even spoke about Shauna and dreamed of, well, what does it look like in order to bring this work to this exact block? But then that required us knowing which block we was going to be on. So we was all right, we're going to learn how to be a little bit flexible. And in the process of doing that, my takeaway that I put was honoring yourself and honoring community. One, I think that it is impossible to honor community without honoring self and what is needed for self. And I think as we get into our needs, we are also able to get into the ways that we can be generous with other people. And I think that one of the simple things that we did that really opened up doors was on our block, we gave out flowers. We went around, and we just wanted to give people their flowers. We made sure it was food. We said we want to nourish you. We want to give you a flower, ice you out a little bit, get some gift bags, have things accessible. And we're not coming here doing something for you. We're here to do something with you, and we're honored for you to be with us. And in the process of us doing that, I feel like we were also able to play to our strengths. And it wasn't just like, oh, we're making this thing happen and it's so strenuous. It's like, actually, no, we're getting to be in community And it's not just like, we're not coming here to save anybody, because who are we to have the answers?
Right.
I know. But we can come with the questions, we can come with the resources, and we can come with the open hearts of looking to make something happen.
Yeah, with that, we thank Grow House, we thank Laundromat Project.
We thank Quincy Block Association.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for your work. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Give people a round of applause. Ms. Bev, you want to join us? I know Ms. Bev. Ms. Bev is definitely worthy of her flowers in community. So it was great listening to you guys. So there's two things as I was listening, as I received what you presented, there was two things I wanted to touch on. The first is this. Again, speaking as an elder in this community, someone who was born and raised in this community, I love these. Because when we were younger, before the internet, so there was a time before the internet.
Well, yes.
Right? There was a time before the internet. Right? So messaging in Bedford-Stuyvesant, now let's go back to the late 70s, early 80s, Black nationalism. There was tons of information about do for self, self-determination, right? And many people, and I know Russell, you may remember this as well, would deliver messaging through stuff just like this. So when you gave it to me, it harkened back to how we used to receive information walking down Nostrand Avenue, right? So this is dope, and I want to know how people receive this. That's the first question.
Yeah, I mean, on the day, we just had a bunch of them and we handed them out in each goodie bag and whoever wanted it. But we can definitely leave them here and have them readily
Did they read it? Did they open it?
I think some people did, and they would mention that they like the drawings. I think the point of this particular one was to make the information about Grow House decipherable and feel more connected to those who may not want to read so much and like process all this information, because there's a lot of work that they do.
I feel like one of our strengths was also that people really, and maybe it was just the heart posture that we came with, and we also got blessed with really, really great weather and also a beautiful block that already has really strong relationships. We had people that were interested in talking and being in a relationship.
Right.
I had a few plates that I was supposed to go back and pick up on. And something that was really cool is that Nick, who is not present today, they are all about crafts and crafting. And I think that one of the great things that Alnarima did was that they make this thing so visually appealing. So I feel like, I know at least for the young kids, they saw it and their reaction was sort of like, I want to make something like that. Or like, I want to create. And I feel like it even got the older people to be like in a creative spirit too.
Yeah, people were like, young people and their moms were making seed balls with us.
Right.
And it was like, oh no, you guys just do it, I'll pick you up in a sec. And they'd be like, no mom, I want you to make this with us. Like, let's sit down and make it. And it was so beautiful. And they'd be like reading the zine and making the little bloom ball. And I feel like it became, even though it was not what our like artistic practice is, it became a culmination of all of us and aligning on an intention and making something for the community. Rather than what we feel like we could offer.
I'm gonna add something to it, and I wasn't there, but I can be certain that what I'm saying right now is true. What your group didn't feel transactional to the block. I feel that you came into this rooted in love and rooted in consideration. And so when you talk about the plates, I know why you were getting the plates, because in just listening to you, I know that this wasn't an act of transaction. You really came in looking to be loving and considerate to this block. I want to hear how that worked, because the thing about it is, when you are rooted in love, it blossoms like a flower. It permeates through the entire situation. And now everything that you're doing, when you're doing it rooted in love, it just becomes better. So I want to hear about that. Like, was that intentional, or is that just like how you guys are as people, right? Or did you say, listen, we're going to a block that we don't live on, that we're not from. We're going to deal with people that we don't know who don't know us. The way and the manner in which to address them is with love and consideration. Was that an intent, or was it just like, just how you are?
I think that one of the really cool things is that, I don't know if it got said, our groups got chosen because when we were upstate, we pulled from a jar and we pulled one of the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, water. So we are the earth group. And I think that's something that is beautiful. That's an invitation that I always say, is that you and I might not know each other, but the earth knows us and knows us well. And it's just a beautiful thing of even looking at, like, we don't get any more water in this atmosphere. There's not water coming in anywhere. So the same water that we consume and the same water that makes up like 80% of our body or something like that. Like that same water is water that has been here and it's ancient. So ain't nothing new. So I just know from how I grew up on the east side of Detroit with my grandma and my grandma's mama, and then when that fish fry was happening, you had to run a plate from this house to that house, then you had to pick this up and bring this back here, and this person forgot that, so you gotta go do this, and somebody gotta go get ice from the store. I just feel like culturally it's just one of those things where it ain't no separation between you and I.
Right.
Like, is Angela here? Angela, Miss Bev, you can help me on this. Whose house did we get invited into? It was me and Angela was walking on the street.
Oh, I'm forgetting right now.
And it's this woman, she lives on the block, and she stands at her gate. And we were walking, and we invited her, and she goes to Angela, and she says, this is when we were flying the day before. She goes, can you go to the store to get me some ketchup? Angela goes, okay, I'll get you some ketchup. So we go and we get the ketchup, then we come back, and she says, you've been living here a long time. And she invites us into the house. We go have a whole tour of the house. The next day, you know, go back and make sure to take her a flower and take her some food and whatnot. But I just think that also with our group, we had so many twists and turns, and everyone in the group was working under different circumstances. And I feel like we really, really just got an invitation to exercise grace amongst one another.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would have worked if we were like, this has to happen like this, and why did you not answer this email? We was texting each other like, oh, I done meant that email, I'm sorry, but it's not just about, you know, how many
Grace
times we
also
fall.
permeates them.
Yeah, we just got up with each other. So it was just like, okay, let's get up with the community. What's up?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, Miss Bev, you know I know. Young kids use the word valid. Miss Bev is valid. She's valid. Trust me. Tell me about your interaction with this group. Tell me about their installation on your block. I know your block. Tell me how this whole thing played out, and were you satisfied with the product?
Oh, it was marvelous. They were so fantastic, because the day, as you probably get a sense of, it was sort of like just on the fly. Just there was just an expectation of no expectation. You just came in and it's like, okay, let's get this done, let's do this, and let's do this. So we had the ambulance corps come out, the senior line dancers, the Jada's marching.
And shout out to the Empire Marching Elite. I see that,
they
right?
were there. And we had the activations with the laundromat project, you know, with Grow House and so forth. So they just came out, drew the outlines on the ground, for the kids with the games. We had a flower workshop. We had the kids just coming together, just doing arts and crafts and all kinds of activities, free food for people. I just wanted it to be a really fun day or something, because it wasn't really so much as the amount of people, it was just the relationships of people coming together on the block, coming together, because my goal is bringing people together. It's hard work getting people to come together. So there's this huge divide. There's these different groups of people coming, and then the old and the new. So my goal is just meeting people where they are and bringing them together. So that was like the highlight for me. And the seniors, there's a senior in my building, Mrs. Wheeler, she's 95 years old, and I wanted to honor the seniors on the block, so I just put their names in, got proclamations and citations and certificates from all of the electeds to come in, and just Stephanie came up and
Stephanie
she came in and she showed up. So Mrs. Wheeler, she's 95, and she says, I'm going across the street. So she just got up, came in, And we just and the seniors cried, some of them. It was a humbling experience just to seeing them. Just saying, I've lived on this block for 20, 30 years or more, and no one has ever taken the time to recognize me or honor me. So I was deeply humbled with that experience. So it's just amazing to see all of the different elements coming together and not really knowing how it's going to work out. Every year is different. So last year it was just all these different groups and organizations. This year, and then I just kind of just looked and see, we have to do this. Let's get the cooler here, get the food here. I don't know what time this particular group is going to show up and what's going to happen. So just seeing everything just come together and everyone just having a great time. And I wanted to do a couple of things like a contest where we would do like a raffle for the person that meets the most new neighbors. We didn't really get to do like some of the ideas that I had. However, the goal was just making people aware, love your neighbor, get to know one another, care about one another, lift one another up, build one another, and strengthen and empower each other. So that just the overall scheme of how
That's
goes
awesome.
together.
I want y'all to tell me about these seed balls.
Sorry.
Don't give it up for Miss Bev. I told you she's back. I want to hear about these seed balls. I'm into urban ecology. I plant. I have sunflowers at the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene right now that are beautiful. I'm looking to harvest in a couple of weeks. Tell me about these seed balls.
Yeah, these seed balls are actually an activation they've done before as Grow House. And they have clay, like clay is powder, and then soil. And you just mix them together with a little water and it becomes like a paste until you have a right ratio. But we had all these seeds that were just like flowers from the area. A lot of milkweed, so things that butterflies will come to, a lot of poppies, different kinds. They had a whole pamphlet of the seeds and you could read what their properties was, what their medicinal uses are. And people would just pick an assortment of them and put it in your hand and then mix it up in the ball. And then we just had a little ball that if you watered for a while would start to sprout.
How many of them did you give away?
We made them, so I think we must have made like 25.
Did you give them to people?
Yeah, they would make them.
They would make them themselves.
Take them home.
Oh, and they take them home.
Yeah.
That's excellent. What is your artistic takeaway? Because something you said, this is not necessarily your creative expression outlet, right? This is not what you do creatively. But just as love permeates and grace permeates, creativity kind of permeates, right? When you succeed in one lane of creativity, it allows portals to be open in other lanes. So, as a rapper, you guys both are multidisciplinary, right? Tell me what this work did for your work, your artwork.
I mean, I feel like gathering people is art.
Yeah.
I feel like
it is.
And as a multidisciplinary artist who works in theater a lot, theaters get sometimes very nervous about gathering people. What are we gonna do with people this? What are we gonna do with people that? And I think at times, it's like, sometimes I just think that people it's like a detriment the way that people separate themselves from each other. And I'm like, if you treat people like family, you won't have the issue.
Yeah, I feel like
I get that from you. Yeah.
Like coming to anything with love teaches you more about each person you interact with, and each person that you interact with authentically will help you inform your own practice. And I feel like just engaging with young people who are so excited to work with plants and teach natural dyeing and all this stuff, it just helped me inform how I even talk about these things to other people, because so much of my creative process is informed by community and like done with community, and it just gave me more ideas for how to do that in the future.
Any last words? Bev, any last words from the entire group? It's the last group. After you guys get off the stage, we're getting out of here. Now's your opportunity. Give us the last word.
Well, I thank, first of all, the Laundromat Project for just considering and giving out the space and lending its hand to, make this forum and bring this together. This is so important for our community.
It is.
We've been so disenfranchised and broken and split apart for so many different reasons. And just to have the love in this room and to have the love just permeate and just come out into the community and to the different individuals. I just give my heart to each and every one of you. Thank you so very much. Continue doing this fantastic work. It's so much needed. Don't stop. And I just appreciate the love and the fellowship here. It's empowering to see our community and seeing our people working together and knowing that we really care and we're in it for the long haul. We're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure that we're bonded, we're strong, we're united, and we're going to continue in our, I'm not even going to call it a struggle, I'm just going to call it a walk of faith. And we're just going to stand together and keep moving. Yeah.
Absolutely. 10 seconds.
Thank you.
Give it. Right.
Yeah, I feel like thank you for organizing and being really fabulous the day of. I remember you walking out of the house and you looked so fabulous. We were like, where is she?
So many compliments. She just changed.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm really glad that our group was the way it was because we were so just like open and ready that it felt very different from working with other people when you have a plan and you have to stick to the plan. And this was like just so go with the flow and loving that it turned out the way it did.
Yeah, I say thank you to you. Thank you for stepping up, and thank you for, at times I am someone that's like, be trying to carry it all. One of the principles that we stood on from orientation was share the way. And thank you for being a part of someone who was sent into my life this year to help me learn how to embark on that journey.
You've changed the world for 25 people. I'm gonna tell you why real quick in 30 seconds or less. Whenever a human grows plant life from seed to fruit, that process creates a more empathetic human, it creates a more considerate human, it creates a human that has a deeper relationship between themselves and the earth. I know this to be true, I've been doing it for years. You put a human in charge of a plant from seedling form, right? So you gotta have faith because you don't even know if this thing is gonna grow. It's seeds and soil. You do that and they are successful at it and you change that human's life. So you change 25 people's lives with that. I mean, hopefully they all grew, right?
And if I may
If not, they'll get another shot.
If I may add on, so I've done community or block associations, pulling them together. So we've done a number of community tree spaces and gardens, and we do flower planting and just revitalizing the tree spaces on our block. So, and I love doing just making our block a more beautiful place to enjoy.
It's
So.
community work. Give it up for Group 4. Round of applause. Thank you very much. No problem. It's excellent. You guys did an excellent job. Excellent job. Excellent job. Okay, my Flonase is wearing off. I need to go home and take another hit. We have reached the end of our time together. I want to extend my gratitude to all of the artists for sharing such incredibly thoughtful, dynamic, and energizing bodies of work. Give them a round of applause. I want to show love to the community partners for their guidance, frame, and participation. Give them a round of applause. Last but not least, I want to show love to the block associations and the representatives therein for being welcoming sites to activate. I need to activate Green Avenue between St. James and Cambridge next year. Give me a rest, please. Please.
All right, heard.
Thank you so much for offering your insights and strategies with us all. And I now would like to welcome the person that wrote my entire script. And when she needed to correct it, she printed out a whole nother script. She is a queen and dynamic in her own way. Give it up for Miss Angela Abigail.
All right, thank y'all so
so much for staying with us. Thank y'all for still being tuned in at home. We're a little over time, so I just want to acknowledge, the reality of that. So my name is Angela Abiodun, and I'm the programs coordinator for the arts and pedagogy team as part of the programs department. Thank you. So we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our incredible Create Change Fellows for their dedication and hard work in bringing these dynamic projects and presentations to life. We're incredibly grateful for the community organizations and that partnered with them, and the block associations that welcomed them during their block parties this summer. So to refresh your memory, we had Built on Theft, Land, Labor, and the Ongoing Genocide of a Settler State by Kea Curavia, Kelsey Suarez, and Margot Rosales. They were themed around economic justice with Bliss Collective, and their block association that they partnered with was the Heart Nostra Willoughby Block Association. Then we had Rooted Together, Molding Our Collective Future and Celebrating Bed-Stuy with Anurima Kumar, Malik Ray, and Nick Black. Their theme was displacement prevention with Grow House NYC and Black Land Trust. Their block association was the Quincy between Nostrand and Marcy, Block Association number 2. And Rooted Together, Molding Our Collective Future and Celebrating Bed-Stuy with Adrielle Barnett, Nzinga, Nomsa, Taiwo, Tahemba, Ching-E, Chong. Their theme being climate change with Magnolia Tree Earth Center. Their block association partner was the Willoughby Nostrand Marcy Block Association. And finally, One Brooklyn Health, Bridging Past and Future with Choya Webb Jr. and Jason Wong. Their theme being healthcare with One Brooklyn Health, who was represented tonight by Torian Easterling, and their block association being the MSBA 400 Monroe Street Association. So another round of applause for all of you. All right, we hope you all had the opportunity to learn about their impactful work that they've worked on this season, and will continue to connect with the artists via their websites and social medias, the organizations via their websites and social medias. I want to also thank the Laundromat Project, the whole team who worked behind the scenes to make tonight and this whole year possible. So a big thank you to our comms team, to our development team, our special projects team, and our operations team. And the other part of the programs team, our artist and community development team, and the artist liaison. Tonight was supported and run by our near and dear LP fam, who include local businesses, Bed-Stuy natives, and nonprofits whose presence and work impact our community. Thank you to Marlon Rice for highlighting uplifting their collaborations with their community partners and block associations and bringing to light the lessons, challenges, considerations with your questions and getting to the core of our work in Bed-Stuy and your care for Bed-Stuy. We want to also acknowledge our vendors. Le Cool Cafe has catered the food for those in the storefront tonight. Deadline offered refreshments, and Micah Brown, who did tonight's and this summer all of the block parties photography. We also have four imprints who provided the gifts that the fellows did not know were coming. A heartfelt thank you to our board, funders, and supporters as well. And then finally, well, not really finally, but I would like to invite all of our fellows back to the front to receive brief remarks and to be welcomed into the alumni family by one of our 2023 fellows, Stephen Anthony Johnson II. All right. I'm going to stand.
Where's the best place to do this? All right.
Center stage.
I'm the child of a pastor and a theologian, so I had to write my notes, or else we'd be here for another half hour. So, out of 11 note cards, I have 4 thoughts. The first, a round of applause yet again for our freshly. It was so beautiful, wonderful. wonderful to hear all of your experiences and to also reflect on how wonderful and invigorating and integrating and also terrifying my own activation was. This is sharing a lot of the same questions of, was I doing too much? Was I phoning enough people in? Were we trying to actually meet the needs of the community? And having all those things fall away going through this process. And so I am so humbled to be here to formally bring you all into the alumni of the four thoughts. And these are just things that I was reminded of this evening, in no particular order, but they all have a little bit of flavor from each of the activations. I tried to pull up a quote from Willie Jennings, but I couldn't find the exact one. So, in the spirit of thinking about dreaming as a sacred practice, four thoughts. Time, whether upward, cyclical, or otherwise, is the vehicle for change, as long as it flows in the directions of our dreams. Number two, when we are given the means to do so, we are already continuously envisioning our future and only need to remind ourselves that they are possible. Number three, caring for our environment and our local ecologies is also taking care of our health, and they go hand in hand. And last but certainly not least, talking to your neighbors is the most worthwhile investment that you will ever make that doesn't cost you a dime, but its dividends are eternal.
Yes.
And with that,
Thank you so much, all of y'all, and those of you at home for taking the time to be with us tonight. If you haven't done so yet, please follow us on Instagram at laundromat_proj, that's PROJ. And then subscribe to our email list by signing up at our website, laundromatproject.org, and join us next time. Stay tuned for upcoming event programs, opportunities, and continued ways to help us celebrate our 20th anniversary. We're gonna say goodbye to everyone at home, and I'll ask everyone in the storefront to gather maybe in front of our 20th Annie step and repeat for a photo. But thank you so much and have a good night.
And that's a wrap.